Great, thank you. One of the things that we've been focused on for a great deal of time, both in Homeland Security and across the U.S. government, is to untangle that Gordian knot of information sharing as it relates to cybersecurity, threat awareness, and consultation and collaboration. We've had a range of successes in this space, clearly more to do, but a range of successes in this space, both in terms of our cybersecurity information sharing and collaboration program and in some automation activities that have been really helpful. We want to make sure, have wanted long to make sure that information sharing is not a government exclusive enterprise, and that it really is focused on the entire constituent base, private sector to private sector sharing, private sector to government sharing, government to private sector sharing, and government to government sharing.
Wow.
And to speed that up.
Sure.
And to make it impactful and valuable and really, really focused on the problems that
Trying to get out in front of that threat,
Absolutely.
proactive.
Absolutely. So it's such an important, it's an important problem, and one that we have common agreement, right? Everybody knows that this is something that needs to be done. It's just been what are the most meaningful and important things that could be done that could move the ball has been really where the challenges have been. And what our focus has been on, as I said, is to untangle that Gordian knot in as much as possible in order to make progress here.
And do you feel like progress is being made, or are there some things
do.
you can cite where you think you've seen progress?
So I absolutely do think progress has been made. We're very proud of, as I pointed out, some of these programmatic activities. We have collaboration with more than 100 information sharing and analysis hubs and the U.S. government and private sector entities in the U.S. government. We've really focused not just on identification of indicators of compromise and putting that out, but putting it out in a way that's useful and consumable by the endpoint. Years of people just putting out what the indicators were, hoping somebody did something with it, really not achieving the end game of protection.
Right.
People have to be ready to consume it. They have to know what to do with it. They have to understand what it is, and it has to be relevant to their audience. And we really spent a lot of time interacting and listening to the constituency of what was working, what wasn't working, and where we are. And our goal within this program is to have it be 50-50. 50% of the indicators that are exchanged are provided by the government. 50% of the indicators that are exchanged are provided by the private sector. A lot of work has to go into that.
Sure.
Right? The private sector has to trust that this is a useful thing. They have to be willing to talk to each other. They've got to be willing to talk to us. We've got to be willing to talk to them. We aren't at 50-50. We're at three-fourths is government, a quarter is industry. 35,000 indicators exchanged. I mean, that's a non-trivial number of indicator exchange at the level of the advanced persistent threat, at that sort of high-end threat actor activity. The feedback we get is positive, and sometimes it's not so positive.
Right.
And for us, the real success is to say, okay, we heard that not positive. What do we need to do about it, and how do we need to mature?
Yeah, boy, I admire your challenge, because it is so complex, the issues when you think about cybersecurity, and when you think of, it's almost like where to start. It's such so many issues out there, so many complexities.
And we have to recognize that it can't just be something we do between people, right? Then it was put it on steroids, make it move faster, make it machine oriented, and do it in a way that industry picks that up, moves that forward, takes that ball as a part of it. And so a great deal of work in the structured threat indicator exchange and trusted automation exchange of indicators that are now, we have products mapping their information into these standards, going through the standards process as well, so that we are at a machine level able to exchange this important, not just information, but context as well, so decisions can be made at machine speed. And this has been picked up by companies. Right? It isn't, we're not the ones saying, buy this standard, it's good, government says it's good. We've got the financial sector sharing their information actually ahead of us in this. They've so adopted it. And companies and entities mapping and using it as a market differentiator.
Yeah, and I know what you said earlier resides to the idea of speaking to people in language they understand. And before we went on air, talking a little bit about having the private sector understand the importance and the awareness and so forth. I mean, you still think of, CEOs and boards being concerned about, return on investment, stockholder prices, driving revenues, reducing costs, but yet cybersecurity is something that they need to understand that to have a trusted organization, you're going to have to be seen as having secure systems in place. And I think we're learning that every day as we watch what's happening. Is there any lesson learned or something you'd pass on here? One thing, maybe a key thing along the way you'd pass on to others trying to do what you're doing?
So I'd say there are at least two.
Okay.
And one is be persistent. Right, this is a Gordian knot. It's been a Gordian knot, and we've had to recognize that we couldn't take it on as one big piece, and you can rapidly end up in that space where you can't do step A because step B sounds too hard, and you don't even see step C yet. And really, just chipping away and persistence in this problem, it's been thankless in large part, but has really come to that space. And the other one is, and I think we all know this to a large extent, embrace your failures as much as you embrace your successes. You're gonna get things wrong. It's going to happen, and learn from those. A wise person once told me that when you go through looking at what happened over time, always decompose what went wrong.
Sure.
I think that's really, really vital, and you should embrace those. You should also decompose what went right as well, because oftentimes it didn't go right because you meant it to. It went right because it did, and you should figure out how to make your successes and failures both
That's
things
excellent